They're very specific to it.
And there are...
Make sure with rats and that you don't pet their tail.
Yeah.
Because they kind of use it for balance, and it's like their security thing. They really don't like it when you pet their tail.
Yeah.
And that's the same with mice.
I actually, another fun story from my childhood adventures with Heather Jane. We had, my sister used to be called the Rat Queen because she had a litter of rats. And how it actually started is my mom hated rats, and my sister, we had the hamsters already, and my sister thought it would be a good idea to lie to my mom saying that she was going into PetSmart to get food for the hamsters, and she hid the little box with the rat in it under her jacket until she got home. And my mom didn't even find out that my sister had rats until like weeks later. And my mom has a real big issue with the tails. So my mom said if it wasn't for the tail, they would be cute. And she just had these big issues with the rat tail. And so my sister did, this whole sneaking into the house thing a second time with another rat. And this rat was supposedly a male, air quotes. And my mom said, it's too cute, too pretty to be a male. And my sister's like, don't worry. Oh, it's a male. Don't worry about it. Sure enough, weeks later, we have a whole litter of little rat babies. And actually, ironically, one of them was born without a tail. And it did have issues with balance, but that was the one that we actually kept, and that one became my mom's rat.
That being said, if you're looking for like rats and that, or any small mammals, pet stores usually follow this type of a rule where they only sell one sex of rats or rodents, mice, whatever. So if you find out that store sells male rats, male rats, male guinea pigs, male hamsters, and you're wanting a female, go to a different store within that same town, and most likely that other store is going to wind up selling females because they have this corresponding thing that way. But just always call the pet store and make sure. The next one's chinchillas. Now there's two types of chinchillas, just long-tailed and short-tailed. Not really much of a difference between those besides length of tail. They're super active. They're very chewing type of animal. Yeah,
and chinchillas actually, they require dust baths at least twice a week. And a fun thing about chinchillas, or not fun, I guess fun fact about chinchillas is just like gremlins, they can't get wet.
So, not in the sense of...
No, they will multiply. They will multiply if they get wet. Also can't feed them after 12 o'clock at night.
So, the real reason why you can't get them wet is because of their fur. How thick their fur is. The water will not be able to get out of their fur. And so get mildewy and horrible. And that's why you do
very gross disaster.
Dust baths. Obviously get a chew-proof cage. Nothing that's a mesh bottom.
And the reason why it needs to be chew-proof is because chinchilla's teeth are actually constantly growing. And so they need to wear down those teeth with toys and chew toys and untreated wooden toys. You can get them, and you definitely want to make sure that whatever you do get them, whatever they're gonna have access to, is able to be chewed in a safe manner or is going to be chew-proof.
Now chinchillas, they're very, very active, so they'll need lots of room to play and run around and fun stuff. So it's good to have a little enclosure for them to let them out once in a while and let them go crazy.
Yeah, it's a good idea to let them out. Keep an eye on them, of course, because it's a good way to lose. I mean, I could tell you a couple stories. Another fun story from Heather Jane's childhood.
That was hamsters, though.
Yeah, hamsters, which, we used to let the hamsters play on the carpet with us outside of their cage, and all of a sudden, I don't know how, but we'd, get distracted with something else, and all of a sudden, the hamsters lost for a week.
The good thing about chinchillas is they're kind of big.
Yeah, they're bigger.
So you'll be able to find it.
Keep a better eye on them, but definitely do give them room to run around. They need that room because they are bigger than hamsters. They have a lot more energy and a lot more room that they're going to need than hamsters and rats and all those other small animals.
That being said, They are also really big into eating hay, so it's good to have a little hay rack for them. And make sure that you have feeding bowls, the same with the chew-proof feeding bowls and stuff like that. And places to hide, because they like to hide and stuff like that. They're also very sociable, like guinea pigs. And so it's okay to have two in the same cage. They'll wind up cuddling together, and it's so adorable.
Yeah, they're so cute.
Next one is rabbits. Now, I know rabbits more of like on a farming sense, where when you grow rabbits, it's for food, less than pets.
Grow rabbits? Do they grow on the ground?
Yes.
When you harvest them, is that when they start jumping around?
You raise, when I was growing up anyway, you raise rabbits for food.
Oh, so they do grow in the ground?
Yes.
Okay.
But nevertheless, they do make really good pets. There's lots of different breeds of rabbits. Rex, the Holland Lop, Dutch, little dwarf, not guinea pigs, but rabbits.
Yeah.
Which they get only about the size of a guinea pig.
Yeah, and of course the lop-eared. That one's a very popular name.
A lion head, which has like very beautiful hair to it.
Yes, the Polish, which speak in accents. They speak in little bunny rabbit accents. If you've ever heard a bunny rabbit speak, it speaks in a Polish accent.
I've showed you the noises rabbits make.
Oh god, it's terrifying.
It's horrible. Don't ever scare your rabbit, because you're going to regret the noise that comes out of it.
It's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
So with rabbits, they are very active. So you need them to run around with bunnies and rabbits. So you'll need a big space for them. Obviously a spot for them to go and bed down and sleep. So usually a cage. This one you can actually have a mesh bottom cage for them. Because their feet's not going to get stuck in the mesh bottom. They're going to be fine.
Yeah. And if you are going to let your rabbit out of the cage, obviously you're going to want to keep an eye on it. And if you do let him out of the cage, make sure that you're going to be able to catch him and put him back afterwards.
Yes.
But obviously, protect your belongings, because
they will
rabbits
chew it.
do chew. And
they will chew on anything.
They'll chew your baseboards, they'll chew your belongings, they'll chew your furniture. Protect your things, including, covering wires with plastic sleeves or flex tubing, or lifting them about 3 to 4 feet out of reach of your rabbit, covering baseboards, unless you want them destroyed, of course. And rabbits' diets, they should mainly consist of hay, and not baseboards or furniture. And you should give them a consistent supply of, provide them fresh hay, greens, and
rabbit food, which would probably be pellets.
And fresh water, of course. And set up a litter box for them, because they will actually use it. They use it to keep their cage clean, and they will use it to keep their feces and their pee all in one area. They will actually use that litter box.
And also groom your rabbit, regardless if it's a short-haired or a long-haired rabbit, because one, it gets that bonding between you and the rabbit, but two, some of the long-haired rabbits do have an issue of matting up because they don't shed. Yeah. No long-haired rabbits shed. And that's the issue with them, is they'll get horrible mats in there, and it's harder to get mats out than actual mats.
And I mean, why wouldn't you want to, brush your rabbit? Their hair is so soft, and it's a win-win for everyone, right?
Exactly. So that's it for the rodent section of this. Now we'll go with ones that are not rodents, or are technically not rodents. So on that list, there's weasels. Now weasels go from weasels, ferrets, stoats, polecats, and minks.
Minks, yep.
Minks is usually farmed rather than raised as a pet, but nevertheless.
So they grow in the ground as well?
Yes.
Okay. And for all weasels, or subspecies of weasels, be sure to follow the regulations for your specific state that you live in, or country.
If you live in the state of California, you can't own a ferret. Yeah. It's illegal to own a ferret. A lot of states in the United States actually make it illegal to own a actual weasel. That being said, if there's any UK or European listeners out there, you'll know of stoats. They use stoats for rabbit hunting at times. Very funny, neurotic creatures. Weasels are notorious for taking and hiding things. Ferrets specifically. So you want to make sure that you kind of weasel-proof your house because they like to run around in your house and stuff like that. After putting them back in their cage, you probably want to look behind sofas, underneath sofas, and stuff like that.
They're notorious for hiding things. They are what's the word? They are
thieves.
They're thieves. They are scavengers. They're hoarders. That's the word I'm looking for. They are hoarders. They should be on, what is it, America's Worst Hoarders, or what is the name of that show?
Yeah, I think that's what
America's
it's called.
Worst Hoarders.
Or just hoarders.
Yeah,
show.
They're hoarders, and they are scavengers. That's the word I'm looking for. They're scavengers.
Now, all weasels are carnivorous. So you'll either feed them meat, actual meat chunks, or pellets, which will have the meat protein that's in them. Make sure you have a solid bottom cage and chew-proof, especially ferrets. Ferrets tend to be good chewers. But you don't get like those wooden chews for them. You get actual toys for them to chew and play with.
Tim, make sure you get toys for your weasel.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. I can't say it in a straight face. Next ones are shrews.
Shrews kind of scare me.
If you don't know what a shrew is kind of like a mouse, but they're completely carnivorous. They're not omnivorous, and they're not herbivores. They're carnivorous.
They will eat your face off.
So with that, you usually feed them mealworms. A lot of them usually mealworms or crickets. And they like to burrow. So when you get a solid bottom cage, make sure you get them like a heavier bedding or sediment to dig through. And I put a note here that terrariums are actually pretty good. Terrariums you usually get for reptiles. These are actually good for the shrews because they like to dig around that.
So I know shrews are adorable. And they're cute and fluffy, but you say carnivorous, completely carnivorous, and then you say burrow. And it just makes me think of them like burrowing, eating into my flesh as they just... It's just a terrifying visual just comes into my mind when you describe these shrews. That
being said, too, shrews are aggressive because of their carnivorous activity. So make sure that you tame the shrew. Moles are also considered shrews. Some people will wind up keeping a mole as a pet. Growing up on a farm, I usually see mole as a pest rather than a pet. But to each their own, right? And then the next one is hedgehogs.
Hedgehogs are adorable.
If you're a YouTube surfer, you'll notice that kind of blows up the YouTube search engine
internet
like crazy.
In general. The internet loves hedgehogs.
With hedgehogs, they're very curious animals. So you'll want to let them out at least for an hour out of their cage. Keep an eye on them because they'll try to get anywhere. The next one is that they're omnivorous. The best way to feed them is with mealworms for protein, and then fruits and vegetables for other minerals. Make sure you have a solid bottom cage for them, and with bedding. Now, you shouldn't really use like a paper bedding, because that would wind up getting stuck to them, because they do have quills. It's kind of their safety defense.
Yeah.
So you'll want to use stuff that's like pine or aspen.
Such cute little quills.
Yeah.
They're adorable.
And for the most part, if you tame the hedgehog correctly, they won't curl up in a ball all the time. It's kind of their safety net type of thing. If you put them belly side up, they'll tend to curl up because it's just their comfort way of doing things. But they are adorable, and they're notorious for floating.
Just want to rub their little tummies with my finger. Just little tummy of the hedgehogs. It's so cute.
But besides that, that's kind of our list of
if I ever get a hedgehog, I'm going to name him Sonic.
Small pets.
I'm going to feed him little gold rings. Sonic, my hedgehog.
You know, there has to be a food company out there for hedgehogs.
Seriously.
That make them into like pellets into little rings.
It would be a like crime for selling these things. It's an opportunity wasted.
Exactly. So with all small pets, remember it's kind of hard to gauge their mood. They don't really express it as